want to do it to my cloud so I can edit it for us.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. We're on record now, and we are here in Shawnee County, Kansas, where we have their Program Development Council members, volunteers, and we have a program here for you. Thanks for joining us in Hodgman and Cherokee counties, and a volunteer from Cherokee County is joining us from the Public Library in Kansas City. Welcome, Liz. I had several other people that I expect to join us, but they should be muted when they join us so we can go right ahead with our visit. So we're going to switch chairs here, and Debbie Beck from the Community Development Block Grant Program is going to talk to us about Community Development Block Grants.
Good evening, everybody. There should be some handouts that were given of the PowerPoint presentations. Everything I usually do with my PowerPoints is I set it up as bullet points and then I kind of go over it so you can make any kind of notes that you may want to have. Funding underneath this program was made possible through Title I. You probably don't need to know all that. Kansas has actually been operating it since 1984. The states could take it over in 1982. Kansas waited a couple of years till they got kind of the kinks out before we took it over. The eligible applicants underneath this is cities under 50,000, counties under 100,000, and those are the ones that are eligible for what's called our Small Cities Program. And then we have those that are what's called entitlement communities, which means they get direct HUD funding. So Kansas City, Wichita, Topeka, Lawrence, Leavenworth, Manhattan, Overland Park, and all of Johnson County. How all of Johnson County did is they had a couple of their major cities go together. And when they did that, the county is over 200 then. And so they went as a county application. So nobody in that area is eligible. The annual allocations we get is about 14 million right now is what we're getting. We just got our 2019 budget approved and all of this government shutdown and everything, but we don't know how much money it is. We're assuming it's the same as the 18, but we don't know that. That's what we've been told, but we haven't been given any dollar figures on that yet. The eligible categories, this is where I kind of want to explain a little bit about each one. We have housing rehabilitation, and housing rehabilitation is actually rehab of housing to bring it up to a 20 years useful life. And those are for low-income individuals. And what we do is we have income limits that are issued per county. And what it is we use those income limits that are issued, and if they qualify for that by the number of people in the households, then you can do rehab. And as part of rehab, we can also do demolition of some vacant structures that might be next door, or a vacant shed that might be in the backyard as part of the housing rehab. We don't do just the demo of the shed. We have to do the rehab of the house as well for it to qualify. And part of that rehab, it's not making it look pretty like taking shag carpet out and doing stuff like that. It's electrical code, roofing, plumbing, something that we work with weatherization to do weatherization on the housing because we work with those agencies as well. They match our funding on these projects. So that's part of what housing rehab is. And then we have, we can spend up to actually about $25,000 per home. Because once you start going over 25,000, then what's called, and I don't know whether you're familiar with lead-based paint, and your lead-based paint rules come into play, then you have to start, you can't just paint over something, you have to completely take it out. So we try to keep below that limit so we don't have that situation come up. Water and wastewater is basically what it is. It's a water project or a sewer project. Community facilities is basically everything but sewer and water. So community facilities is like your fire stations, your streets, community centers, gas systems, electrical systems, just about fire equipment, just about anything that kind of relates to that side. The only thing we can't do underneath the program is anything for the general conduct of government. So we can't build city halls or county courthouses. We can do ADA accessibility to those, but we can't actually build either one of those. And we can't build like city shops or county shops because that's all part of that general conduct of government. Actually, when Jessica talks to you, they actually can do some of that with their program that we can't do. So that's why if one comes up on that, I'll typically refer you over to Jessica's program. Then we have commercial rehab, and our commercial rehab is, and it has to be in a downtown area. And what it is if you have somebody that's willing, we have several of them that are active right now. I can, you may think of it as big city, it's Salina, but it's an example of what happens on the end of their downtown corridor. They have an old railroad depot that was built historic value way back. And what they have is they have 3 companies that are going to locate in that building once it's rehabbed. And during our commercial rehab, what that is it has to bring it to code. So a lot of that stuff was not code, and it meets what's called a slum and blight criteria. And those 3 businesses have to commit to coming into that facility and staying in that facility for us to be able to come in and do it. So we don't just come in and do a rehab of an existing building that nobody else is moving into. We're doing one, we're right now currently looking at one in downtown Hutchison, which is an old building, and there's actually 3 buildings together. We're actually going to end up doing the first building and bringing it up to code. And then eventually they're looking at adding on to the other 2 parts of it. But right now, because they're only doing the first part, that's all we're doing. And we're replacing all of the windows, and we're doing all of it has a lot of brickwork that's been deteriorated on the outside that needs to be the old-fashioned brick that needs to have the concrete put back in it and everything. So that's what they're doing with that particular project. We did several in Fort Scott. We've done one in Ottawa. We've done one in Beloit. We did one in Dodge City. Dodge City, it was done as part of one of the depots, I think. No, it was an old City Hall bank building downtown. But it wasn't City Hall anymore. It's actually the one that has the brewery in it now. We actually rehabbed that building to meet codes. And then they put money in to do all the additional work. And all we did was just the electrical and plumbing and all of that stuff to bring it up. And then we have economic development. Economic development is based on, it's a business oriented where we grant the funds to a city or county, and in turn they loan the money to a business. So it's set up just like a bank, and our interest rates are sitting at 4%. And what they have to do underneath the economic development is they have to create 1 job for every $35,000 that goes into the project of block grant money. And so we've done several, even though like the city of Topeka would not be eligible, we've done some out in Shawnee County. So that's part of the eligibility for that. And then urgent need is basically that. It's like natural disaster type things. Right now we're actually working on one in Strong City that they came into us for a sewer project in the fall round, but prior to that, when the engineers went out to start doing the study, there was a huge hole underneath the highway where the gas line was collapsing underneath it. And we did an urgent need just to replace that gas line underneath the highway because they were waiting for a major catastrophe to happen with a truck driving across it with heavy weight. I mean, it was a huge hole, and they didn't find it until they did this. When we do urgent needs, even though they were coming to us for sewer in the fall, all we fix on the urgent need is what fit the criteria of the urgent need. So in that case, all we did was just that stretch of pipe. We didn't do anything else to the system, just replace the piece that was having the issue. So most of those urgent needs are typically, I know we did some in Harveyville for tornado cleanup in their sewer ponds because people don't think about that stuff, but a lot of that debris all went into their sewer lagoons, and you had to get them cleaned out so that they could actually use the sewer lagoons. So that was part of what we financed with that. Back down in the old Parsons days when it went through, we did a lot of cleanup. Same way with Greensburg. So Greensburg was a major project, but we actually came in and put, we did cleanup, but we also actually put in streets and street lights for them because they were all gone. National objectives, the program does require, it's federal funding, so it has its little red tape. Urgent need means it, which is what I was just going over, it means it can't have existed any more than 6 months. So it's something new. It's not like somebody's water well that's been going dry for several years that is now dry that does not qualify. It is something that has to just happen. And as part of that urgent need, we have usually another state or federal agency comes in and certifies it as meeting. So like in the case of the sewer line, we went through Health and Environment sewer side of it, and they issued us a letter on what it would do with the collapse if we didn't get it cleaned out. Usually those that are nationally declared makes them pretty simple. They're pretty cut and dried projects that come in. The only problem that we run into is when they're nationally done, even state sometimes done, is FEMA's rules kick in before we do. So you have to go through all your FEMA money before you can come to us for money. So sometimes it's just a disadvantage when that happens, at least I'm honest. Slum and blight, that's basically for demolition, demolition and cleanup. And then our biggest basic thing of our program is 51% low to moderate income benefit. And those are based per county. There are income limits that are issued on our website per county, so it's all based on that basis. We had been using it off the 2010 census. As of last Friday, we got new 2015 data that we now have published on our website. That totally changed a lot. Some of them that didn't qualify beforehand now do. Some that did qualify in 2010 don't qualify now. So, and it is set up by census tract, by township, by city, by county. And now something else new that you can go out to our website and find that is it is an interactive map now. So you can come in and plug in where you want, and it will dot that little area. And then all you got to do is hover with your mouse over it, and it'll give you all the LMI data for that community as something that's brand new we've never had. So it is, the link is on our website as part of that Get Income Limits. We put the link out there so you can play with it now. Another way that you could do it is survey, which a lot of communities do surveys. I've had pride groups do a lot of the surveys. I've had Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, I've had Kiwanis, I've had the ones that are usually the easiest one to do are the fire stations, because it's usually volunteer fire department that's working it. So you can do them anyway. We don't require you to hire somebody to do it. I usually recommend it be done locally without hiring somebody to do it. And then in some cases, you can do a combination of census and survey. Say you have a project that is benefits a rural water district. Say you sell water as you as a city, and you're working on your water tower, and you sell water to, say, rural water district number 2. They are a benefit from that. So the city may meet LMI, then you survey what residents are left of the rural water district and add them onto the project. So that's where you get your combinations at. Our water and sewer, we have what's called our kayak. It's our Kansas Interagency Committee. Every applicant for water and sewer is required to attend this. Actually, you're not required. If you don't attend, you just get a 10-point deduction. And we have those meetings 2 times a month, May through July. And then we only have one in August because our applications come in the beginning of September. So if you wait till the middle of August to come in, we used to have them in the middle of August. Well, if you wait till that, then you don't have time to do the recommendations that the groups have. And the one in August we have in Hayes. For those from Western Kansas that don't want to travel all the way in, we try to leave all of those slots open for them. If somebody to Eastern Kansas missed any of the ones we had here and we were never full, we will still back them up behind the ones from out west first. So our kayak partners are Rural Development, KDHE, us, and Water Office. Water Office comes in on all of our water projects. They tell us whether they have a conservation plan and everything in place, because that's one of the conditions we'll put into place on our program on that. The attendees, we have a city or county representative there. The project engineer, sometimes we have administrators, sometimes we don't. And then we have agency representatives from all of those agencies, and those are always guaranteed to be there. And as part of what we do with that, let me back up to this. part of the reason we have the representatives there is we're trying to look at projects that part of the deal is how do you try to help yourself. So part of it, we look at where you are and comparable to the statewide averages on water and sewer. And we set rates every year on what those are on 5,000 gallons. So if you look at a sewer rate that's $26.25 for 5,000 gallons, and you have a community that comes in, and believe it or not, I still see them come in at a $6 sewer rate, there's a reason why you can't fix your facility. And we're not going to grant you dollars until you raise your rates, because $6 is never going to pay for it. And you can't believe how many $6 rates are still there. And they say, well, there people are going to yell at us if we raise our rates. Well, you either flush your toilet or you don't. Kind of basically, it's, you know, it's a hard thing. So they usually let us in the committee be the ones to tell them that, because a lot of the engineers don't like to do that, or they say they don't believe them. So us state and federal agencies kind of got tough on that, and it just doesn't really bother us, because, you know, if you're not willing to help yourself, don't come to us for it. Then we also have a memorandum of understanding on regional projects between us, Commerce, and KDHE. It's a volunteer program. What we're trying to do is trying to do a project on a regional approach, and I actually did put all the data together for it this time. The one that we did the last one on, which really worked well, was Public Wholesale Water Supply District number 26. It was actually a rural water district. Strong City and Cottonwood Falls all got together and formed this new public wholesale. And what we did is we did a water treatment plant for this public wholesale. And then this water treatment plant sells to all three of the entities. So it all works together. And then we also funded, Strong City and Cottonwood Falls for distribution lines, separated out as part of regular block grant that wasn't part of the $1 million we put into the regional project. We put $1 million in, and I think the majority of the other matching funds was yours, which was over $5 million for this water treatment plant. So that's one. Those are usually slow going. It's kind of like school consolidation. People don't like regional approaches because they want to own it, and it's a tough sell when everybody wants to own it. But in this particular instance, it worked out the best way for all three of them. Basically own it, because they formed the public wholesale district, which typically we only do cities and counties in the program. But when they formed the public wholesale district, it was determined by the attorneys that's actually, in essence, a public entity like a city or a county, and would allow us to fund them directly. Our application workshop this year is April the 18th in Salina. We will be sending out our application brochures the week of March 11th. If we send them out too early, everybody puts them back and they never remember them, so we send them out about a month. It will be at the Tony's Pizza Event Center, which, if anybody doesn't know who that is, that's the old, I just drew a blank, Bicentennial Center. So the Bicentennial is, nope, it's not Bicentennial Center no more, it's Tony's Pizza Event Center. And that's where the workshop will be. It's an all-day workshop. It's free. There will be registrations online once we put that brochure out. So if you don't get a brochure, you can contact me. We can get you on the list, but it will also be available on the website in a form fillable once we put it out there. And then our applications will be available online after that workshop. Is when because we don't print any of our applications anymore. We just put them out online. And then you can contact any of us with questions. So just a little bit about some projects that we funded. We did a water treatment plant in Chitopa. So we've gone little big. Linn County Fire Station. These are the type of fire stations we like to look at. We had a CAN-STEP program, which was, we provided the money for the materials, and the volunteers did the work on it. Part of the problem we ran into is people wanted to make Taj Mahals out of our little fire stations. And it was meant as a 2-year program. Well, the problem that we run into is volunteers lost interest after the first year. if you weren't going quick enough, it was, you lost them all, and then you didn't have your spark plugs or anything, and it took 4 and 5 years to complete a project. So we, just got rid of that and went back to the regular program of just providing all of the money to build them. Baldwin City wastewater treatment. Whoops. This is a street project we did in Canton. So you can see we've done big, small. I'm saying the majority of our money, I'm guessing probably 95% of it goes to communities under 5,000 for the most part. Iola, we did a library. And this is the contact information that you can contact me. Send it through our email. We also have a new inbox that is just program related, that you can send questions in through the inbox. If you don't know who to send it to directly, just send it through the inbox, and then I'm the one that takes care of the inbox and sends it off to whoever needs to answer it.
Can we ask a question? Now you want to wait.
Let's see. How did we do this at the workshop? Did we go?
We waited till the end,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Let's go straight through to the end, and then we can see how things fit together. So please write down your answers or your questions, and we'll talk at the end. So thank you, Debbie.
Thanks.
All right, that is yours, yes. All right, we're doing a little do-si-do here, and up next is Jessica Bowser with the USDA Rural Development. Let's see. There we go. Oh, okay. There it is. Thank you.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. As Nancy said, thanks again for inviting us back. We did this presentation back in October, so happy to be here. I work for USDA Rural Development. I'm based in Topeka, which is our state office. We have an office in Hayes, Iola, and Newton as well. And so we have about 46 employees across the state. So I'll tell you a little bit about rural development throughout. As our new assistant to the secretary likes to say, USDA Rural Development, we are the 4th largest bank in the nation. So we're doing a lot of financing for rural communities, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of those projects later. But we also have several different definitions of rural. As you'll find out, Debbie has, I think, one standard, 50,000 or less. We have 10,000 and less, 20,000 and less, 50,000 and less. So it varies on all of our programs. We are actually 3 different agencies within rural development.
I was just going to add that we will be sending out these PowerPoint slides after the presentation. So you'll have a copy of what she's got in front of you.
Thanks, Nancy. So we have 50 different programs, which sounds like a lot. So I serve as our public information officer, and I assist our state director, Lynn Hendrickson, here in Topeka. So I always like to tell Nancy, if anybody has a question that gets sent to Nancy, she always just says, Jessica, tell me who to contact. And so because I know it's hard to know all the programs. It's hard for me to remember all the programs. I've been with the agency for 10 years. So and it's always changing and evolving. So as you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. That's what we're here for. Our new secretary has really charged us with being a efficient customer service based agency. So our priorities right now are really on infrastructure. I'll talk about that, water and sewer, same as Debbie, as well as rural hospitals. Partnerships is another big one. And so as you saw with the Kansas interagency meetings that take place, we're really trying to coordinate our funding and make very strategic investments throughout rural Kansas. And innovation, we're always interested in ways that we can help rural Kansas be more innovative. All right, so in 2018, USDA Rural Development right here in Kansas invested $416 million. And so our funding, like I said, we have 50 different programs, and I try to lump them all together. But in our business programs, I'll go through some of those in a little bit. We assisted 45 businesses with $12 million in financing. About 1,500 families throughout rural Kansas received our financing to either repair or purchase a home. Okay. Oh, gotcha. Oh, I see. I saw that up there. Let's see.
Whoops. Let's move this window. Dale, what are you seeing there? Are you seeing the screen? Are you seeing her PowerPoint?
That green arrow. So
Oh,
maybe.
thank you. Whoops. Oh, okay. Well, that's just the other one. Okay, Dale, I've unmuted your line. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We just still.
Okay, are you seeing Jessica's slides that says USDA Rural Development?
No.
No. Okay. What are you seeing?
The last slide of Debbie's presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.
Need to get up.
No.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Let's see. If they may see it before I do, let me know.
New share, that's what I was
There you
wondering.
go. There you
There.
go. From current slide. Oh,
She's on number 3.
you were on 3?
Yeah.
Okay, from current slide. Okay, what do you say? Are you seeing now? Sorry, I muted you again. Okay, how about Cherokee County? Can you see
Yes.
USDA?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, so I was talking a little bit about, we've assisted 45 Kansas businesses, 1,500 families buying or repairing homes in rural Kansas, 35 community projects, and I'll talk a little bit more about those, 109 million in financing, and then 36 Kansas communities for water and sewer infrastructure. I would say in the last year, we had a high focus on our community projects as well as our water and sewer infrastructure projects. That was a push from Congress as well as from our administration as well. All right, so our community programs, we offer loan guarantees and grants. This program typically has a population limit of 20,000. However, I will say that with the new Farm Bill, it does extend our population on guaranteed loans up to 50,000. We still don't have the rules and regulations for that. National Office is still working on that, but that also is true for our water and environmental programs. So we'll see how that works out. I know there's been a lot of requests for that. With our water program, the population limit's only 10,000. So there could potentially be some interest in that. We're just not sure. But let's see. So community facilities grant, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But one thing I will note with the technical assistance and training grant, K-State received that for the second year in a row. And what that allows them to do is to be able to go out and meet with rural communities. Heather Morgan from K-State does that, and she will actually fill out the application for those rural communities. So if that is something that you're interested in, let us know. That's for the loans and the grants. So the first program, the Community Facilities Program, Debbie alluded to this a little bit earlier, but it really is to provide funding for those essential facilities in those rural areas. And so A lot of times these can be communities, they can be towns, they can be nonprofits as well as tribes. Right now, our interest rates range from about 4.2 to 4.5%. And those, what people like about our community facilities loans is they can be stretched out over 40 years. So that can really help that rural hospital or some other entities out there. And this is kind of the way I like to visualize what we can assist with healthcare. We can help with those dental clinics, medical equipment, nursing homes, medical vans if you need for transportation, electronic health records. Healthcare is a huge priority for us right now, and we see a lot of need out in the rural areas for that. So that's a big priority for us, especially right now with opioids. We have special points for opioid type of treatment facilities. So that's a big priority. Public safety, of course, fire stations. Let me see if I have information on our grants. I would say where Debbie mentioned the fire stations, I like to say people come to her to build them. If you're looking for grants for us to build a fire station, we usually only have about $200,000 to $300,000 in grants, and those typically are dedicated towards the healthcare and the public safety. But we don't look at doing buildings with that. We look at doing more equipment, smaller projects, so we can get more projects, assist more communities throughout the state. But with our loan program, like you saw, we have over $100 million in loan funds. Mostly, like I said, are those larger hospitals, the public service arena, schools, libraries, storm shelters. We see a lot of smaller projects for communities needing storm sirens, but we've also seen roofs that need updated. Library technology, we've done some school libraries with computers, community colleges, and the list goes on and on. Public facilities, Debbie said she couldn't do courthouses, we can do courthouses, city halls, all that kind of stuff, street improvements, community centers, community support. We've done some childcare. We did just this last year, we did provide a grant to, I can't remember the community down in South Central Kansas, but for some new bleachers for their fairgrounds. They weren't ADA compliant, so we were able to make them safe for the community. And they have other events there throughout the year as well as a farmer's market type building. Yeah.
Are these in any order of priority?
No.
I heard you kind of say healthcare and public safety.
Not really.
Would you repeat my question again?
Sure. Nancy was asking me if these were in any type of priority, and I said no. This is just the order I put them in. But I would definitely say that health right now we have a strong focus on public safety and healthcare. But that's not to say the other ones are less important, but definitely have a priority for the healthcare. So just going through, like Debbie said, we do small projects as well. We do big projects. Just kind of depends on the year, but the city of Fowler in Southwest Kansas received a $1,400 grant to get some new shelving for their library. Again, we're not covering all the costs there. The city was able to put in some money for the project as well. Another one, Marion County, really, we went down there and toured. The sheriff provided us with a tour of their new jail there, but what they were really lacking was equipment to be able to communicate between all the emergency managers in the county. And so we provided the county with a loan and a grant, and then some of the smaller cities like Peabody were able to get grants for the radio equipment. So that one was a neat project. Here's a loan project, a $27 million hospital up in Smith County. That community really supported healthcare. They actually have a long-term care nursing home facility going just down the road from it as well. And so I think their original hospital was built in the 1951. And so it was old, it wasn't very accessible for patients. And so they really wanted a new facility. And so I haven't toured it since it's been completed. I was there about a month before it got completed. It's a really nice facility for those rural residents. There's not a ton of hospitals close to that area. So again, a nice facility having all of those services in one facility because it's a hospital and a clinic. Our water and environmental program, this is probably the one where we do provide grants to make the projects affordable. We see a lot of aging infrastructure in rural Kansas communities, and it's something that we're able to go in there and partner with Department of Commerce or other agencies on. So we look at doing regional projects where it makes sense. But this program is specifically for populations of 10,000 or less. However, like I said, with a new farm bill, the guaranteed loan portion could go up to 50,000. So with our community facilities program, as well as our water and waste, we take applications year round. I will say with our community facilities grant program, the sooner you get in a grant, the higher probability that you would have of getting funded that year. And so our fiscal year started October 1. And so we have several projects that we've already received for the year, but we don't, same with Debbie, between the furlough and just not having a budget pass until a couple of weeks ago, we're not sure exactly what our allocation is for the year. And we have several programs that can assist communities in doing some pre-development planning grants. So for those smaller communities, we can definitely look at providing what we call a special evaluation assistant for rural communities, helping them determine what is needed and how what their system looks like. As well as Debbie had the urgent need, we have an emergency community water assistance grant, same sort of thing. If there's any type of disaster that comes in, and I think our last, I'm not sure it was our last one, but one that I remember that we did recently was out in Western Kansas. A community was getting some of its water from a well, and that well went dry and they were needing some additional water. So we were able to provide we call it an ECWAG, but it's really Emergency Community Water Assistant Grant to assist with that. And so again, smaller project, City of Reserve up in Northeast Kansas had infrastructure from the 1930s. We helped them put in a new water tower and some fire hydrants. I'm pretty sure this one had some CDBG funds in it as well. A larger water storage tank, again, some rural water districts came together to form Public Wholesale Water Supply District number 25 in Douglas County. And so those were kind of our water and our community facilities. We currently are taking grants for our business programs. The one I won't mention on here is our Value Added Producer Grant Program. That one does not have a population limit. We don't currently know when the next deadline will be for that program, but that one is any type of agricultural product that is being turned into a value-added product is eligible for up to, I think it's a $250,000 grant. Now you do have to have some matching funds for that one, which can be product. One of the ones I like to highlight is Hildebrand Dairy out in Junction City. We were able to provide them some funds to help market their product, as well as to get some more glass bottles, because that's their big thing, is to be able to serve their milk in those glass bottles and whatnot. So Value Added Producer Grants, a great program. Last year, I think we awarded 6 grants throughout the state for about $630,000. So it's a neat program, but like I said, that one has no ties to population, just to an ag producer. Our first grant that we are currently accepting applications for, the Rural Energy for America program. So this one has guaranteed loan financing, as well as it could be a 25% grant. So you can either do renewable energy through solar, geothermal, or wind, or you could do a type of energy efficient. You're looking at a new HVAC unit, insulation, lighting, cooling, doors, windows. Out in western Kansas, we have seen some irrigation motors that farmers need to convert from diesel to is it diesel to natural gas? I can't remember exactly. That doesn't sound right, but it's from diesel to another energy source. And so this one, I went out and visited Crable Specialty Meats in McPherson, and they had just redone their lighting to more efficient LED lighting. And I know there's been some farm and home stores that have done that type of project. We've seen a lot of new HVAC equipment for some of these rural businesses. But one of my favorite, I guess, which would be next, is we've done quite a few grocery stores where the grocery stores have had the open coolers going into more of the stand-up, closed-door type of units. And so this one, they were able to put in the new units. They saved enough money. They were able to go in and put in some new flooring. So I know we've done the grocery store there in Centralia, Kansas. We've done some in Moran, Peabody. So rural grocery stores, if they're looking at doing this project anyway, it's a good fit for them. And so the current deadline for that grant is April 1st. Out in western Kansas, Doug Brueggemann is the contact. Eastern Kansas, Katie Casper. Kind of the central part would be Travis Snyder. And David Carter, he is with K-State Engineering, and he is actually able to come out and do an energy audit on some of our bigger projects, and they will actually fill out the application for you. And our staff will help you too. You don't need a grant writer for this specific program. So, like I said, upcoming deadline, I think this year, I want to say we have about $600,000 in funds this year. So, and that could be for bigger projects as well as smaller. So a lot of funding to help our rural businesses be more energy efficient. Our next one that we're currently accepting grants for, as well as our rural business development grants. And that program really is to provide some targeted technical assistance training to really help develop those small and emerging businesses. Last year, Cloud County Community College received some funds. They actually went to the Board of Regents and are establishing a new solar program out there in Cloud County. And so that's one. Also, I think it was 2 years ago, Thrive Allen County received some grant funds to do a rural business incubator center. So we helped them put up some cubicles. I think maybe helped with some computers and phones and those types of things to do a kind of a rural business incubator. So the deadline for that one is March 29th. Our application is online, and Nancy is our office contact in Topeka, and Travis is in the Newton office. And I should say within that, we do have two separate grant pools. One is for enterprise grants, which are the business incubators and those types of things. And we also have opportunity grants that are for feasibility studies or business plans, leadership training, and entrepreneurship. And let's see, and I have the current deadline on there, March 29th. And real fast, I'm sorry, we have a lot of grants currently out there right now. Our telecommunications program, this is our Reconnect program. We have a individual down in Wichita that leads our telecommunications program, but right now we're working with the Department of Commerce and some other folks. We're hoping to have a workshop in April to talk more about this Reconnect program, but it's really to focus on areas where at least 90% of the households to be served in that rural area don't have sufficient service. And so there's 3 different funding opportunities. So one, they say it's 100% grant, but you also have to have that 25% cash match. So it's not technically 100% grant in my mind. And then the second one is a 50% loan, 50% grant with the June 21st deadline. And then the last one is the 100% loan. And so We are looking at doing a national 2-day workshop on this program sometime this spring. And so as soon as I get that information, I will send it to Nancy to share with all of you. Also maybe potentially doing some smaller state targeted workshops as well, because we know broadband is a huge issue. Unfortunately, some of the scoring, I'm not sure if it's going to score out for our Kansas communities, but we're taking a look at it and we're trying to get as much information out as we can. So also right now, distance learning and telemedicine grants. This one last year, this is really to help rural residents tap into modern telecommunications and the internet, and the two areas of focus are education and healthcare. They've split it out this year into 2 separate applications. The first one's due April 15th, and that's the opioid focus. The second one's May 15th. And I would say last year, typically it's targeted to rural communities under 20,000, but last year Washburn received a distance learning and telemedicine grant. And so they were able to receive that because it's where the recipient lives. And so they were doing these in some of their Washburn Tech areas, and they were focusing on healthcare in their healthcare classes. So that's how Washburn was able to receive that. It's not where the headquarters is at, it's where the actual recipients of that distance learning and telemedicine. And also I believe Burlingame got a distance learning and telemedicine grant too, to really help that community, I think, do some educational stuff between the community and the schools. And then lastly, Community Connect. That one again is more broadband as well, but that's really for those rural communities that have nothing. And I know a lot of us don't, but they consider if you're able to get it on your phone. And from what I hear, a lot of us are able to at least have that service on our phone. So we usually don't connect. We usually don't compete well in the Community Connect. But again, that's also one that's run through our GFR that lives in Wichita. So, but all of these, like I said, have timelines. And if you have any questions or any interest or just have a project, don't hesitate to give me a call. And lastly, our housing programs. I'm sorry, we have so many different programs. I try not to confuse people. And lastly, we do have single family, and generally it's populations that have less than 35,000 in Kansas, and so we're able to do direct home loans to very low and low income individuals. And then we have a guaranteed program where we work with local banks to be able to provide home mortgages as well to some of those more moderate income individuals throughout the state. And then we also have multifamily housing programs that we have grants and loans for farm labor housing. So in some communities where there's a big agricultural, we did one in Dodge City with all the ag processing that goes on there. So it has to, you actually have to be an individual touching the ag product. You can't be an accountant for that facility to live in those homes. So anyway. So those are, and we also have a lot of multifamily housing apartments that we provide guarantees for as well, and are the conduit for rental assistance as well, and provide oversight over those management companies. So I like to say, think of us not only as a funding source, but as a partner in creating opportunities for rural communities. We really like to partner with several different entities on our projects if possible. And the other thing I would say is the Farm Bill did just get passed last year, and there's a lot of rules and regulations that are still yet to be released. So we have the Farm Bill broadband program, as well as some refinancing for rural hospital debt. So we have some more programs that we'll be seeing in the near future, or more opportunities. So sorry guys, I tried to keep it as short and simple as possible, but yeah. There's my contact information, and like I said, email me, call me, whatever you guys want to do. I'm happy to answer any questions you have and connect you with the right individual that you need. And there's our Twitter and our website as well.
Okay.
Okay, so Cherokee County, oh, Cherokee County, you're not muted. So if you want to talk to us, or Liz or Sarah, don't go too far, Jessica, because they're going to be wanting to talk to you. Okay, so what questions do you have? Cindy, you had one here.
How would an unincorporated town like Dover participate? Could they participate if the county commissioners would sign off on something, or are there things that they can do?
So the question is, how would an unincorporated town participate in these grants and loan programs? And I'm sorry, but I think you're going to have to come to the computer for them to be able to hear.
Well, underneath the commerce programs, unincorporated can actually, the county can apply on their behalf. And what it is, it goes through the county commission and they actually do the application for it. That happens in quite a few cases. And Jessica is saying over here that USDA does the same thing.
You mentioned surveys. How many surveys are required to be adequate? Is it % of the community population, or?
She's asking on a survey, what is the response rate that was required? Basically, it's when you're dealing with block grant, it's not a response rate. It's, say your community has, I'm just going to give you 300 people. And say to meet the 51% low to moderate income test, that's like 156, you have to survey until you get 156 individuals back that meet low to moderate income. So it can be a 60%, it can be a 90%. There's no percent requirement. It's till you meet that 51%. And we always say, always do it above that if you can, in case something happens that something's not counted down the road, you at least have more than enough. Plus you get points within the rating system for the more low to moderate income persons that benefit for the project.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
This is Cherokee County, this is Christina. Jessica, you were talking about that there's a focus for healthcare and public safety. Would that just be for facility, or it would be like for healthcare to implement a program or a project of some sort?
So give me I guess, so I would just say that overall, right now USDA has a strong focus on especially opioid projects. So within our, as you saw, our distance learning and telemedicine, there's set aside funding for that. In our rural business development grant, there's priority points for opioid projects. So I would say yes. Any type of healthcare project that comes to us, we haven't got our allocations like Debbie said yet, but for our community facilities loan program, I'm not going to say our funding is unlimited, but we were able to go after additional dollars this year for different projects. And our as well as we get our allocation, Kansas does for our community facilities grants, and then we're able to go to pooling in August, which just means out of the 50 states, there were some states that didn't utilize all their allocation. Shame on them. And so we want to make sure we have projects in the pipeline. And if one of those projects happens to be healthcare, yeah, there's going to be, it would probably weigh out over something that was not healthcare related.
So potentially qualify if there's an existing facility, either hospital or mental health, but maybe they had a focus of being able to implement something for opioids or maybe some kind of mental health project or program. So it's beyond just facility, creating a facility. Right. Okay. Yep.
Liz and Sarah, I'm going to unmute you so that you can ask questions as well. So if you're talking on your cell phone, you might want to move away from the microphone. But so everybody's unmuted now if you would like to ask a question.
I don't think I have any right now.
Thanks, Liz.
And I'm good. I'm just kind of absorbing everything in.
Good. And Sarah is in Hodgman County, and she said that she has just received a CDBG grant. Is that right, Sarah?
I didn't hear the last part. Say that again.
Did you just receive a CDBG grant?
Yes, we had a new business. I think they got approved at the end of last year, but it's actually a quilting business, if I remember right, that's right on Main Street. So it's nice not to see another, some of the vacant buildings kind of have some life back in them again.
Great.
She's using one of our micro loan revolving loan funds for
Yes.
small businesses.
So what about public safety? A mental health facility here is maybe interested in pursuing like a batterers intervention project. Would that qualify as public safety?
What would the product be? What would they be purchasing?
Public services, 24-week program. So maybe it's a domestic violence program. So maybe you're not purchasing something concrete, but just to be able to implement that program.
So basically an operating cost.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. So that usually ours are based on, not programs, but an actual, our facilities would be more based on the building, the equipment, those types of things. But if you're looking at taking that program and offering it distantly to other entities throughout the county, we could definitely talk about distance learning and telemedicine. That would fit in there. I know that KVC out of Missouri got a distance learning and telemedicine grant to provide iPads to foster children throughout rural areas.
Okay.
So innovative approaches like that, I think could definitely work. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sometimes you just got to be creative and then think about which program fits best. And Cindy, I do want to go back to your question. And you asked about the unincorporated cities. You could, through our program, you could also qualify under like a nonprofit. If there was a community-based nonprofit that had some financials that we could look at for the past 3 years, that would be another avenue for our program. We do a lot of that with nursing homes, hospitals, and whatnot.
One more question for us regarding public safety. With the implementation of a storm shelter, what kind of grant opportunities regarding match do you have available?
For a storm shelter?
Yes.
So ours would be the community facilities grant again. And ours goes off of median household income from the census. So I'm trying to think of what that.
So the community that they're considering it just got approved for the LMI. They just went through that survey process. I don't know if that helps any or not.
So we would be different than Debbie. So
okay.
Yeah, you can apply for the program if you've got your survey that makes the determination. You can apply to us, and all we require is a minimum 25% matching funds.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
For the housing rehab, which you mentioned in the beginning, up to $25,000 for the home, does that go through a local entity, or do homeowners just apply individually?
Underneath our, she's asking underneath the housing rehabilitation program, do they apply directly, the homeowner apply directly to us? No, underneath the block grant program, what it is, it's still a grant to a city or county, and then they form a housing board. And what that housing board does is that housing board sets up your guidelines that you want for the program. And what we do is we have general guidelines, and what you do is you set it up, and you have to set up certain policies on how much you want to spend for minor rehab, major rehab, how much demo, or if you want to do demo, if you want to do home ownership or rentals, or you could do both. And you need to set up a walk-away policy. When do you walk away from a property that you can't do? Some cases it's might be how bad the house is. It might be a hoarder's house and you can't do anything with it. You have to have a walk-away policy that says, even though you income qualify, we walk away because we cannot have an inspector come in and actually inspect your property. So that's part of what those guidelines are that's set up. And so then once the homeowners or rental units would actually turn in an application to this housing board, and this housing board would make a decision on who they're going to do, and then they would bid them out in packages. So you may, contractors may do 3 and 4 homes at one time.
Thank you.
And then what we do is we pay the county or the city to do it, and they pay the contractor. So the money never goes to the homeowner. It's all done through the city or county, and you pay the contractor to actually do the work. So it's actually done.
So if we called you up, you'd be able to tell us like what, if there was a town that we were interested in helping, you would know if they've already put together a homeowner.
Yes, if they've already done some, yes, if they already have housing boards. She's asking if they contacted us, could we tell you who'd been doing housing before and whether they had boards? Yes, we could.
Okay, thank you.
And I would also say for home repairs, we do work with individuals on home repairs. And if they are 62 years and older, that's when the grant kicks in. And so we do a lot of working with the area agencies on aging if they need their houses to be handicapped accessible so that they can continue to live in their house. We help them with that. So, but yeah, we also will offer the loan. It's based on income as well. So.
Thank you.
I don't see any other questions in the room, and I've seen that Cherokee County has put themselves on mute, so I'm guessing maybe this concludes our program. I really appreciate Debbie and Jessica. For the record, both of them said they would have run to Cherokee County for you, but thank you for helping us to save them 6 hours of driving, and really appreciate their openness. But it just reiterates how much these folks want to help, want to be of service to you. And you know, every time I hear this, I think I'm never going to remember this, but all I need to know is call Debbie and call Jessica. That's what I need to hear.
Thank you. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate those being recorded.
Yeah.
Because I